This is Brad from Comic Spirit Sci-Fi, reporting live from Sherwood Brewing Company in Utica, Michigan. We're looking forward to Civil War, Marvel's, I guess, the continuation from Ultron. Just put out a trailer, and it's looking exciting. And I think that I didn't understand the references in Ultron until I saw the trailer. Now I understand. I'm a little slow, I admit it. I think it's kind of exciting, internal fighting between all of our good heroes.
Our favorites.
Our what?
Our favorites.
Well,
our favorite people.
Yeah, that's right. Our favorite people in the world, at least
their favorite.
I think it's interesting that they would pit whole groups, that people who usually fight side by side against each other for our own enjoyment. It's kind of like, I don't want to say this out loud, but it's kind of like making animals fight, dogfighting. It's kind of, you're compelled to watch it, but you don't really want to see it.
Well, I remember when the comics came out in 2008, I believe, around that time, they were kind of marketing it as a dystopic take on the whole entire universe. So a little dystopic world.
You mean the Civil War comics?
Yeah, exactly. And so I find that really interesting that, it's Captain America versus Iron Man, and everyone filed in line behind them. So I think it's just really an interesting thing, and I'm interested to see how they take the comics, especially after Ultron, which I wasn't totally happy with.
Right.
Translation from the comics. I'm interested how they take, especially the dialogue, because the dialogue was so brilliant in Civil War. How are they going to translate that into a cinematic world that we have established already?
Right. I think there was a. I'm sorry. Go ahead. There was a transition. Although at the time I didn't realize it was a transition. There was already discussion in Ultron between Tony and Cap, and they were talking about, the whole excuse for making Ultron in the first place was supposed to be so they can get on with their lives. And clearly they can't, because life doesn't work as simple as Tony thinks it does.
It doesn't, but if you remember in Ultron, that was Cap's biggest fear, was the war ending. Remember when they had the visions and everybody was showing their fear, and his was the war was over. Right. So in some way, I think Cap hopes that the war will never be over, because his whole being for becoming Captain America was to fight.
Oh, that's an interesting take. I never thought about it that way.
Nobody to fight. I'm just this big muscle-bound freak walking around doing nothing with superpowers.
Well, but I think we all know that it's human nature to antagonize people for no reason. You see it in children. It's not necessarily learned behavior. They just do it. I don't think that's why dystopic novels, as it turns out, are very popular.
Well, it also gives the chance for the reader and the viewer in this case to question who the characters are and allow the characters to question themselves. Because we have trusted in these characters that they can do no wrong.
Right.
And now they're questioning themselves, and that was the great dialogue that I was talking about in Civil War. Just questioning everything.
If you remember in the comic, it was all started because of the incident with the school, and Nitro was chasing the villain, and the villain blew up. Nitro was the villain, I'm sorry. And his power was to explode, so he exploded, destroyed the school, devastated, so then they did this registration act. So with that not being, because there was so many characters in the comic book that they use that they don't have rights for movies, which is why they got Spider-Man. To me, in order for Civil War to work, they had to get Spider-Man, because he had the whole reveal of a secret identity, because Tony put him up to it and said, if you want to really be the cause, you have to show the world who you are. So, and I don't know how well it's going to translate. At first, when I first seen it, I was all excited. But then as I started thinking about it, I was kind of like, I don't think it's going to be as good as
I can't.
comic
Well,
because you don't.
it
Yeah,
can't.
the trailer doesn't really give us any idea.
I mean, the trailer was great, but it just doesn't.
I'm sorry to say I have not actually read the Civil War graphic novel. I'll try to read it before the Captain America film comes out. But for me, having grown up with these characters and loving these characters, I separate the comics from the films now because I know that the comics or the films are not following the lineage of the Silver Age to the Bronze Age, which I grew up with. However, having said that, Captain America is the moral compass of the Marvel universe, the way Superman is the moral compass of the DC universe. Cap is on a pedestal. He is the one who always does the right thing no matter what. So for me, for Marvel, it's always about these characters, and I love what they've done with it, and I look forward to Captain America hopefully maintaining that moral compass where Tony's the one who, even though his intentions are good, his own ego,
So I guess we just have to wait and see, because they're not really telling us a lot. We only know who's not going to be in it, and they're only telling us how it's not going to be what we want. So I guess what the bottom line is, whatever we like, whatever we don't like, they're going to give us whatever they want, and we're just going to have to deal with it. And this is Brad with Comic Experience Sci-Fi. We'll see you next time.